Today we are talking about stage 4 of the Money Success Roadmap. If you are just happen to start with this episode, go back to episode 92, stage 1, and then stage 2, stage 3, episodes 92, 93, 94, and then come back to this episode where we talk about stage 4. So, 4 is where you are really going to start making progress on your financial goals. So, the first couple stages are setting you up for success. It's laying that groundwork so that you can create specific, smart goals, get your budget working for you, and plan for those things that always pop up and ruin your budget plans, right? You feel like, oh, it looks so good on paper, but then at the end of the month, you're like, what the heck happened? How did this happen? I should have more money left, right? The first 3 stages help you work on that and get a working plan for you that is realistic for your family. Now, stage 4 is called motivated. During this stage, you're going to work on saving that basic emergency fund. I talked a little bit about that during stage 3. You are going to create the debt payoff plan. You're going to weigh the pros and cons and figure out which order you want to pay things off in. And you're going to come up with some ways to stay motivated and on track over the long term because it's not always going to be easy. Every day is not going to be peaches and roses, right? Things are going to come up where you want to quit, where you want to give up, and you have to come up with a plan, especially mentally, before you get there so you can handle it better. So, when you're in this stage, you know it's possible for you to save money and pay off debt. You're motivated to do that and you're determined to do it sooner rather than later. So remember, this is not a someday plan. This is like a timely plan. The next 5 years plan, you are going to get it done. You've got a plan for how you're going to pay for Christmas and or a new to you car, even maybe some home improvements. Like you've created that plan in the earlier stages. So now you've got the confidence and you are ready to rock and roll on saving money and paying off debt. Now, in this stage, I hope that your spouse, your partner, your husband is finally on board working with you instead of against you. Because I realize they may not have been on board in the earlier stages. Hopefully, at this point, they are seeing the progress that you are making if you're doing it without them, and they are getting on board with you, and so that you can work together as a team and not against each other, right? You're happier because you're working together. You've made your relationship stronger because you are working as a team, and you've got that good foundation on making the financial steps to build real wealth and changing your habits for the long term. Because remember, this is all about changing your mindset, your behavior, your habits so that you can have long term success. Because, if it were quick and easy, it's quick and easy to get off track as well, right? We want to build those long term habits and routines so that you can stay motivated and focused on your bigger vision for your life. Now, the things that you're going to accomplish during stage 4, your action items, you are going to create a SMART goal for the next 3 years. So you're going to map that out. That's going to include paying off your debt, right? So, how much debt? What debt are you going to be able to pay off in 3 years? So, you're also identifying all your debt. You're totaling it up so that you can create that roadmap for paying off debt. You're going to compare different debt payoff plans, okay? I have the impact method. There is also the debt snowball, the debt avalanche, and you may start with one and change to another. You don't have to do things exactly in order. That's why you've got to figure out what you think is going to work for you. And it doesn't mean that you have to stick with it through the whole thing, right? You can change your mind. But just like each stage where you're focusing on one at a time, you're also focusing on one debt at a time. Now, you're not starting to pay off debt yet. That's stage 5. This stage, you're creating the plan that you think you're going to follow that you want to start with for paying off debt. So you're going to compare the debt payoff plans. You figured out what debt you have. You're going to use a debt calculator to figure out how you're going to do that in 3 years or less. Up to 5 if you have like a huge amount of debt, over 100,000, then let's say you make like the average 50,000 a year. So maybe that might take you closer to 5, but I really want you to focus on how you can get there in 3. And that's why I want you to play around with the debt calculators, because you can play around with the amounts. Okay, if I do 500 a month on average, keep in mind this is an average. It doesn't mean that you have an extra 500 every single month to do that, but maybe you get a tax return, maybe you sell something, you get a bonus, you change jobs, you get a second job, things like that to bump up the average. Play around with the calculator. See what you do need to have each month extra to get it to that 3 years or less. It might be 1,000, it might be 1,500. And so once you identify the amount, you see the numbers, you see what's possible for you, you're more likely to make it happen. And I want you to create some visual progress trackers. So you're going to get started with paying off your debt next in the next stage. And so I want you to you're preparing for it in stage 4. So create those visual trackers. I want a visual tracker for your overall debt total, but also for each individual debt. So you can really feel like you're making progress. It could also be a vision board. It could be all of the things. It could be specific trackers for each thing, and then an overall vision so that you can stay motivated. During this stage, you can move on to the next once you have your emergency fund saved. So keep in mind, this isn't your full emergency fund unless you want it to be. If you're expecting a job loss or a job loss is possible for you, you don't have a lot of job security. Okay, full emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of your basic expenses, those things that you would pay if you lost your job, not all the extra stuff that you wouldn't be paying for if you lost your job, the basic things. This if you're not going to save the full emergency fund right now, if you're not expecting a job loss or you don't need to save for like a big move or something like that, then this is just your basic emergency fund, which could be $1,000, $2,000, whatever that amount you decide on that you kind of talked about and thought about in stage 3. This is where you're going to save it. So once you have that saved, that's one of your milestones for stage 4. You're also creating your 3-year SMART plan. So that's, paying off your debt. You've created the plan, okay? Not that you've done it, not that you've finished, but that you've created the plan, and you have created your debt-free plan. So once you have created that vision, that plan, what you're going to do, and you have your emergency fund saved, then you can move to stage 5. Then you're paying off the debt. So keep in mind that this isn't completing the debt payoff. This is creating the plan for the debt payoff, but you are saving your emergency fund. So this stage will take you a little bit longer than the others, especially if you're saving a larger amount. So this one might take you just slightly longer than the other ones, but if you need a goal, let's just say on average 3 to 6 months, depending on how much you're actually trying to save, what your income is. I don't want this to be a year in stage 4. You should be able to save your emergency fund relatively quickly, depending on the amount that you're doing, right? And what your situation is. So I'll give you a couple more months to finish this stage, and then you can move on to stage 5 when you have saved your emergency fund and you are ready to start paying off your debt. We want to save first before you start paying off your debt. That way when things come up, it doesn't derail you financially and mentally. You're able to cash flow it. You're able to avoid using your credit card or going further into debt when things come up, because things will come up. That's life. But when you have a plan for it, you're able to handle it a whole lot better financially and mentally, because mentally handling it is important as well. So you don't get derailed, and so you don't get off track and just hard to get focused and get back to it. That does happen, and that's perfectly normal. You may not be able to bounce back, the next day, but I want you to still keep focused on your longer term goal. Keep focused on how you're going to get back on track, save that money back up again, get back to paying off debt. When you have that plan, you're able to accomplish it so much easier. So don't forget, if you haven't already, to listen to the stage 1 through 3 episodes, 92 through 94. And next week, we only have a few more days left. So come join me inside the Money Plan Bootcamp, budgetsmadeeasy.com/bootcamp, where I'm going to walk you through my 5-step framework for creating a money plan that you can actually stick to. It's free. Even the VIP is free, and there's going to be lots of prizes with the VIPs. You get some extra fun things with me, and it all starts Sunday. I'm going to have the welcome celebration on Sunday, and the live training starts on Monday the 17th. I hope to see you there. Again, it's budgetsmadeeasy.com/bootcamp.